grateful to our NISM leadership, our agency leadership, and every single city worker.
What's going on when so many strange things start happening all at once? Heavy snow blankets, big cities, roads get jammed, everyday life turns upside down. Up in the sky, birds fly around in crazy directions that don't make sense. In many places, sudden tornadoes appear out of nowhere, then vanish quickly, spreading worry through whole communities. These aren't just random events anymore. 10 signs come one after another, hitting hard and fast. From the ground to the sky, from nature to people's daily lives. Each one feels stronger, clearer, and harder to ignore than the last. Do you think this is simply just a coincidence? If your answer is no, then this video has come to you on purpose, like a message sent from the Lord. Because right now you're about to see the missing pieces come together. Before we start this journey, please leave a prayer in the comments below. It's a way to tell God, Lord, I'm still listening to your signs. And now, you won't have to wait long. We're jumping right in with 1. Blizzard swallows New York City. A video spreading fast last night showed New York City almost disappearing under a thick blanket of snow. Familiar avenues got buried in just a few hours. Streetlights faded out. The subway shut down. Cars sat frozen in the middle of the streets. It left a lot of folks feeling uneasy and worried, including many of us, when we realized our normal daily rhythm had come to a sudden stop. New York City is one of America's biggest financial and transportation hubs. Millions of people count on electricity, subways, and flights every single day. When the storm hit, everything came to a halt all at once. It left this huge city wrapped in quiet, bitter cold, and tense waiting. According to Fox News, wind gusts reached up to 60 miles per hour. Heavy snow piled up several feet in a short time, knocking out power to more than 770,000 homes for a long stretch. Over 14,000 flights got canceled at big airports like LaGuardia and JFK. Thousands of vehicles were stuck solid under the snow. Road and air travel pretty much ground to a complete stop. Some reports say serious accidents happened because of poor visibility and icy roads, with confirmed deaths tied directly to the extreme weather. Those cold numbers show the damage wasn't just to buildings and things, it reached human lives too, spreading worry through the whole community. Weather experts call this Winter Storm Fern. It formed from a strong clash between Arctic cold air and moist air from the Atlantic. They say climate change is making winter storms stronger, with heavier snow and fiercer winds, overwhelming city systems that were built for milder conditions. But when you look at the city covered in darkness and ice, a lot of people can't help thinking of the warning in Luke 21:11. There will be great earthquakes, famines and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights and great signs from heaven. These scary scenes and signs in the sky seem to be showing up more and more. Matthew 24:7 talked about wide troubles too, where nature becomes part of the big global shaking. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. A blizzard like this isn't just weather anymore. It feels like a reminder of how fragile the order we depend on really is. Even Revelation 6:12 describes the sky changing in big crisis times. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. When the light gets blocked and darkness takes over, fear spreads faster than the cold wind. Science can give a solid explanation, but the size, timing, and impact make it hard for many to brush off. This storm feels like a clear warning, pushing us to wake up to things slipping beyond our control. And if this is only the beginning, the question of what's coming next still hangs in the air. 2. Birds flying wildly over the sky in Kramatorsk. The afternoon sky over Kramatorsk was covered in a fading orange glow, the light slowly dying like it was being swallowed up. Against that sky, a dark moving mass suddenly appeared, spreading out and swirling around without any pattern. The flock of birds piled on top of each other, breaking formation, drawing jagged, chaotic lines that made the air feel suffocating. That moment gave the feeling that nature was reacting to something beyond normal sight. The scene turned eerie when the movement didn't calm down. It just got thicker and denser. Birds swooped low, then shot up high, changing direction over and over, forming a black net that covered the sunset. In that heavy atmosphere, have you ever wondered why animals react to things people haven't even noticed yet? It happened near Kramatorsk, a hotspot in eastern Ukraine, where the front line is only about 9 miles from some areas. This land has long been used to ongoing tension, but the image of this bird flock seemed to go beyond the usual disturbances. Many studies have recorded migrating birds changing routes to avoid conflict. For example, eagles and large birds often steer clear of airspace with fighting. Still, the level of chaos this time left many people struggling to explain it. Online communities quickly split into different opinions. Some said sounds from drones or military activity scared the birds, triggering a survival instinct that made them scatter. Others asked why similar things don't happen at the same time in other war zones. A neutral view shows science can explain part of it, but there are still gaps left unfilled. In those gaps, the Bible comes up as something to think about. Hosea 4:3 says, "Because of this the land dries up, and all who live in it waste away. The beasts of the field, the birds in the sky, and the fish in the sea are swept away." Those words bring up the picture of all creatures reacting when order is disturbed, like a warning sign before something bigger. Ezekiel 38-20 continues that thought. The fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the beasts of the field, every creature that moves along the ground, and all the people on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence. Under this view, the trembling of the birds over Kramatorsk sky isn't just instinct, it's a sign of something shaking much deeper. Zephaniah 1-3 closes the connection. I will sweep away both man and beast. I will sweep away the birds in the sky and the fish in the sea, and the idols that cause the wicked to stumble. Those words make many believe that nature is sometimes used to send a message people can't easily ignore. When the flock left that fading orange sky, the space suddenly felt strangely empty. If the creatures have already sensed it and found a way to escape, the question left is, what will we make of that sign? And what choice is waiting ahead? 3. The strange tornado at Cedar Creek Lake, East Texas. A thin, thread-like tornado suddenly appeared behind the houses along Cedar Creek Lake in East Texas. It stretched from the ground up to the low clouds, like it was connecting two different worlds. That sight stopped a lot of people in their tracks, because the twister moved slowly and twisted in a way that felt really unusual, different from anything they'd seen before. Could you feel the unease right from that very first moment? The Cedar Creek Lake area is no stranger to storms and wild weather, but this time the tornado looked clearly different. It was skinny and long, moving slowly, like it was carefully feeling its way along the ground. That gave it a mysterious feeling that's hard to put into words. We were watching something fragile, yet terrifying at the same time, like a strange mark drawn across the calm Texas sky in the suburbs. Even though the tornado was narrow, its impact was real. Quite a few big trees got uprooted, roofs got torn apart, and some homes suffered heavy damage. It was a lot like what happens with an EF1 tornado, knocking down maybe 50 trees and wrecking a few houses in a small area. Seeing all that damage just made the feeling stronger that nature was sending some kind of hard-to-read message. With so many questions coming up, weather experts stepped in to explain. They said it was still a regular tornado formed by unstable weather conditions, the clash of temperatures and air pressure creating that spinning motion. But the skinny shape, the length, and the slow movement left many people wondering why this one felt so out of the ordinary. In the middle of all this, the Bible came up as something worth thinking about. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights and great signs from heaven." Those words, fearful sights, really bring to mind shocking things you see that make you stop and wonder what they mean. Matthew 24:7 adds more, "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." When you put that thin tornado into the bigger picture of what's happening around the world, a lot of folks believe it's part of a chain of signs coming one after another in a way that feels full of meaning. From that view, the tornado at Cedar Creek Lake isn't just about weather anymore. It's seen as a wake-up call, a reminder that we're living in fragile times, when the normal order of things can get pulled apart at any moment. It leaves us with bigger questions about being ready and staying awake. As that thin twister faded into the sky, the feeling it left behind stayed with a lot of people. If it really was like a string tying heaven and earth together, is it pulling humanity closer to chaos? Or giving us a chance to look back at the path we're on? 4. Volcano eruption in Hawaii. The morning in Hawaii started with bright red lava shooting straight up into the sky. The intense firelight cut through the misty air and put the whole area on alert right away. The trouble hit fast. The volcano erupted hard, sending out flames and ash at the same time, turning a peaceful scene into a dangerous zone in just a moment. It happened near Kilauea Park, a place known for strong geological activity, but rarely showing this kind of sudden power so early in the day. Lava fountains rose hundreds of feet high, their red glow reflecting off low clouds and creating a heavy, urgent feeling. Ash started falling on nearby roads, covering cars and plants within about 1-2 miles. The eruption quickly grew stronger as lava columns covered roughly 80–85% of the crater. The peak came during eruption episode 41, with lava fountains reaching up to 1,600 feet. The ground shook, and the whole area lit up like an ocean of fire. A normal morning turned into a life-or-death moment, where every passing minute brought new danger. Local authorities immediately sent out emergency warnings. People were told to stay away from the area, get ready to evacuate, and follow safety instructions closely. Roads near the park were closed off, and rescue teams kept watching the lava's path and how far the ash was spreading. You could feel the tension. Every decision had to be made in a very short time. Geologists quickly looked into the causes and effects. They pointed out rising pressure in the magma chamber, plus strong tectonic movements as the reasons the eruption became so intense. With one burst following another, the longer-term problems include air pollution, risk of ground collapse, and serious damage to the environment and people's lives in the surrounding area. In the middle of these warnings, the Bible speaks like a serious reminder. Revelation 6:12 says, "There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red." The red of the lava and the ash covering the morning sky strongly bring to mind the images of blood and darkness mentioned in that prophecy. Luke 21:11 goes on to say, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights and great signs from heaven." Those fearful sights seem very real in this volcano eruption, where the fire becomes a clear warning sign. From this view, the lava carries a meaning of cleansing, a reminder that every action leads to consequences. We face a choice: listen to the warnings and get ready, or just see it as one rough morning that quickly passes. As the flow of fire keeps going and the ash keeps falling, one question remains. If the lava reaches the ocean and widens the destruction, is it only a natural event, or is it a wake-up call for humanity to pay attention before it's too late? 5. Bright red lightning bolts paint scary pictures across the sky. Bright red lightning suddenly flashes high above the storm, tearing through the dark night and drawing strange, twisted branches across the sky, enough to make us freeze for a few short seconds. These aren't the usual ground-level flashes we're used to. Instead, they're red streaks, hanging way up high, appearing and vanishing so fast that the creepy feeling lingers even after the light is gone. This has been spotted over strong storms in highland areas, where the air is thin and the updrafts are really intense. These red lightning bolts, also called red sprites, show up above the tops of thunderclouds, spreading out like giant tree roots. They stretch for tens of miles, covering a huge patch of sky and making the space above the storm look like a painting that's both beautiful and frightening. From a science view, meteorologists say this happens when powerful lightning below the clouds excites nitrogen in the very high atmosphere, around 56 miles up from the ground. The electrical energy makes the nitrogen glow red for just a split second, creating these rare images. But what catches a lot of attention lately is how much more often they're showing up in videos people share now, way more than in the past records. On social media, the debate heats up fast. Some folks say it's just a rare atmospheric thing that's being captured better now thanks to modern cameras. Others think the increase points to unusual changes in our climate and the energy in the atmosphere. And some believe these red bolts mean something beyond pure science, like a warning signal that people haven't fully figured out yet. Which way do you lean when you see the sky suddenly turn bright red like that? In the middle of those thoughts, the Bible comes to mind as a suggestion. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights, and great signs from heaven." Those great signs from heaven bring to mind these strange lights happening way up high, something we can only watch, not touch or change. Revelation 8-5 paints an even stronger picture. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Fire from heaven, thunder, lightning, and shaking ground all put together. It makes a clear warning scene. From a faith perspective, these red lightning bolts can feel like a reminder that the sky isn't quiet while things shake up down here on earth. They appear quietly but strong enough to make us lift our heads, look up, and think about what's coming closer. As those red streaks keep flashing in the next storms, the question still hangs there. Is this just rare atmospheric light? Or are these tongues of fire signaling that a decisive time is slowly beginning to open up? 6. Mysterious figure on the very top of the mountain. Up high in the thick clouds over the tall mountain range, a human-like shadow suddenly appeared against the sun, clear enough to make us stop and stare for a long time. The figure had its arms spread wide, standing right between the bright light and the mountain peak. It looked more like a vision from heaven than just some random trick of nature. A group of hikers spotted it. The shadow showed up, then slowly faded into the clouds, leaving behind a deep, hard-to-name feeling. When they zoomed in on the photo, the outline of a body came through sharp and clear, with a soft, glowing halo all around it. At that height, clouds kept rolling across the slopes, making the figure appear and disappear, like it was coming closer, then pulling back. That moment hit us with a question we couldn't shake. If this is just light and shadow, why does it stir our hearts so strongly? From a science view, this is usually called a Brocken specter. It's an optical illusion that happens when the sun shines from behind someone high up, casting their shadow onto the clouds in front, and a colorful ring of light forms around it. Similar sightings have happened at Canyonlands National Park, where high ground and low clouds set up the perfect conditions. The explanation sounds straightforward, but that image of a figure with arms outstretched in the clouds still leaves many people wondering if there's something deeper. In that same line of thought, the Bible offers another way to see it. Matthew 24-30 says, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, with power and great glory." Those words, "coming on the clouds of heaven," ring out powerfully when you put them next to this shadow in the clouds, like a hint of a presence that goes beyond ordinary sight. Revelation 1-7 adds to that feeling. "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, and all peoples on earth will mourn because of him." In the Bible, clouds aren't just weather. They're the space where holy things are revealed to people. On the other side, meteorologists point out that a Brockenspector comes from light, angles, and special air conditions. They explain exactly how the halo forms and why the shadow gets enlarged on the clouds, calling it proof of how amazing optics can be. So two views sit side by side. One is the scientific formula. The other is the spiritual experience you can feel the moment you see the picture. What's striking is this: no matter what name you give it, that moment, when the figure appears, still has the power to quiet the heart and make us think about a presence greater than nature. In those rare seconds, nature becomes a curtain that lets something much bigger show through. As the clouds keep drifting and the light shifts, the figure fades away. But the question stays: is it only a trick of the light, or a quiet reminder that some signs only appear when we stop, look up, and really pay attention? 7. Mysterious blue meteor leaves a tear in the sky over Japan. In just a few short seconds, the sky above the sea near Japan suddenly got torn open by a bright green streak. It shot straight down toward the horizon, so fast that every camera catching it shook a little. Things happened so quickly that a lot of folks only had time to see one green line cutting through the dark night, leaving them with the feeling that something had just dropped from way up high. The event was caught near Mount Fuji and Sakurajima, places where volcanoes still quietly rumble underground. The meteor glowed a blue-green color and left behind a long white trail like a rip across the sky before it vanished over the ocean. Video from the CCTV system at the Hiratsuka City Museum shows the light was strong enough to brighten a huge area in an instant, making a picture that was clear yet hard to explain. Early analysis says the object was moving at extremely high speed, typical of a meteor entering the atmosphere. The green color likely came from metals like nickel or magnesium burning up from friction with the air. Still, that cold blue shade and unusual brightness left many people watching the footage feeling uneasy because it looked so different from the usual meteors we see. In that moment, it's easy to notice how most people naturally look up and wait for something more to happen, as if that streak of light hadn't finished its story yet. The silence after the glow faded made the sense of warning feel even stronger. When we put this event next to the Bible, Luke 21:25 comes across like a direct warning. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Those signs in the sun, moon, and stars bring to mind strange lights appearing in the sky, along with a growing feeling of trouble spreading on the ground. Revelation 6:13 paints an even stronger picture. And the stars in the sky fell to earth. As figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind, stars falling from heaven are described as something sudden and without warning, enough to shake people's sense of safety. From a science view, astronomers see this as a natural meteor, with a clear physical explanation for the color and path. But when placed beside Bible language, the event takes on another layer of meaning, like a reminder that the sky has its own voice in sensitive times. As a warning sign, the image of a blue meteor falling near a strongly active volcanic area creates an urgent feeling that's hard to shake off. Fire from deep underground and light from the sky showing up in the same period make a thought-provoking overlap between nature and the spiritual. Once that streak of light melted into the dark night, what remained wasn't just video footage or scientific answers. It was a moment that made many people pause and think farther ahead. The tear in the sky may have closed, but the story behind it seems to still be unfolding. 8. The cloud that looked like an eye. The morning started with a calm, still sky, then suddenly got interrupted by something that made a lot of people stop and stare. High up in the clouds, a huge eye slowly came into view. With sunlight shining right through the center like an opening pupil, that moment was caught in just a few quick seconds, long enough to make your heart beat a little faster. Have you ever paused under the sky and wondered why the light today feels so different? Local fishermen and folks in Inner Mongolia shared the story. That's the area where clouds often shift and change a lot in the early hours. Against a pale blue sky, the clouds swirled into a perfect circle with sharp edges, rays of light spreading out from the middle, making the whole thing look exactly like an eye looking straight down at the ground. The picture spread fast, and people started calling it the Eye of God. Many say this happens when early morning sun shines through layers of thick and thin clouds, creating those crepuscular rays and strong light and shadow contrasts. Still, this one felt more alive than usual. Crisp cloud edges, a deep bright center, and a slight sense of movement that made people feel like they were being watched. That feeling is what makes the photo so hard to forget. People often bring up Revelation 1-7 from the Bible in moments like this. Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn because of him. Yes, amen. The image of clouds and a gaze from above brings out that familiar idea. A presence that's quiet, but covers everything. Another verse that comes up is Psalm 34:15. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry. Next to this cloud, the message feels closer. The look isn't only for judging, it's also for listening. We stand under that sky in the middle of ordinary days, but we're never invisible. Of course, science calls this pareidolia, the brain seeing familiar shapes in random patterns. That makes sense. But what really stays with people isn't the scientific name. It's the shared feeling that comes up: stillness, awe, and a clear sense of moral responsibility when we look up. As the light faded and the wind carried the clouds away, the question lingered. If there really is a gaze following even our small choices each day, how would that change the way we live today? Do you feel that quiet reminder pointing somewhere? 9. Prayer group creates a mystery under the river in South America. The calm water suddenly swayed a little, then turned white like an invisible hand was gently holding 4 people, standing right in the middle of the river. That moment came out of nowhere, without warning, and it felt like all the sounds around just got sucked away. How would you react if you saw the water answering people's quiet whispers like that? It happened at a wide stretch of river in South America, where the local people often gathered to pray. 4 folks held hands in a circle, eyes closed, standing steady even though the current was strong. No loud shouting, just this strange quietness covering everything, as if the whole river was listening. When they lifted their hands, the water started to change. Little ripples appeared around the circle and spread into a thin layer of white waves. They didn't crash hard. They just wrapped around gently. The flow outside kept going like normal, but that spot became unusually peaceful, giving a feeling that was both safe and hard to explain. In moments like that, people often bring up James 5:16. So confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. The way the water changed made many think of an unseen power you can really feel. Similar scenes have shown up in different places along the Amazon, where communities believe spiritual energy can touch the world around them. Sure, science might say it's just local currents or underwater winds, but the timing, almost exactly when they prayed, still leaves room to wonder. What are we seeing when nature seems to answer faith? The promise in Matthew 18:20 comes like a key. For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them. You don't need a big crowd, just unity. That's enough to change the air around you. The peak came as the water slowly settled, the waves fading like they'd never been there. That moment brings to mind Psalm 107:29. He stilled the storm to a whisper. The waves of the sea were hushed. The first fear turned into hope that even in chaos, peace can still come down. Maybe it was all just a natural thing that happened to line up with a special moment. But the way the prayer and the water's response matched so closely leaves a question that's hard to shake. If faith can calm a river's waves, Could it have the strength to guide humanity through the last big wave waiting ahead? 10. Strange bright lights moving around a red and white cloud. On a dark night sky, a bunch of bright lights suddenly showed up. They moved all over the place around one cloud that was red mixed with white. Nobody quite knew what to call it. They didn't fly in any neat line, didn't drop straight down, and didn't just hang still. Instead, they circled, split apart, then came back together, stirring up everything above like it was being churned. Have you ever seen something that just by looking at it made your heart start asking questions you can't even put into words? People saw this in wide open sky areas, from the east coast of the U.S. all the way to the desert parts of Arizona, places where city lights don't wash out the stars. That night was unusually quiet. No rain, no wind, no thunder or lightning, but this red and white cloud just hung there, standing out sharp against the black sky. That strong contrast made it impossible to brush off as some small thing. The lights kept blinking and moving without any clear pattern. Sometimes they gathered close to the cloud, sometimes they spread far out, then came right back. They moved slow but steady, giving the feeling they were circling around or guarding something in the middle. No sound came with them, no long burning trails, just this heavy silence that made it hard to look away. Luke 21:25 talked about this in a very clear way. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be anxious and confused because of the roaring of the sea. When strange lights move up above and the air down here starts feeling heavy, that sense of being unsettled doesn't feel like just your imagination anymore. A lot of people said maybe they were satellites, drones, or some kind of flying string of lights. But that red and white cloud is still the hardest part to explain. The color didn't spread out like storm clouds do, and it didn't fade away quick like mist. It held its shape steady for quite a while. That quiet, solid presence made the moving lights around it feel even more troubling. Joel 2:30 describes the final judgment with strong pictures. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke. A red cloud with lights swirling around it brings those wonders in the heavens to mind, not loud and sudden, but enough to plant a deep, lasting unease. When the lights slowly faded and drifted away, the cloud got dimmer too, then melted into the darkness, leaving an empty stretch of sky that felt strangely cold. What just happened didn't give any clear answer. It only left one question hanging. Were those wild movements just some natural thing, or are they opening the door for something even bigger coming soon? Here are the 10 events we've just seen. They don't stand alone like random bits of news. Instead, they connect one after another, forming a clearer line over time. From the sky, the oceans, the mountains, and forests, right down to those quiet moments between people and nature, everything points to a growing rhythm of disorder. Natural disasters are coming more often now. Earthquakes, huge storms, flash floods, and droughts are happening more frequently. At the same time, tension between countries isn't calming down at all. Alongside that, there are strange sights in the sky, in the clouds, in the light, and even in small moments of prayer that seem so ordinary. Each one can be explained by itself, but when you put them side by side, they form a chain that makes it hard for the heart to stay calm. In the Bible, Matthew 24-44 says it plainly, "So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him." Those words aren't meant to scare us. They're a reminder to stay awake and alert. When the signs come faster and stronger, the important thing isn't trying to guess the exact time. It's getting our hearts ready. In the middle of all the noise of life, it's easy to get caught up in the news, the arguments, and the worries, and forget to turn back to repentance and prayer. Each of these events isn't mentioned just to make us curious. They're meant to wake up our conscience, to invite us to pause and look deeper into our own spiritual life. The preparation doesn't start somewhere far away. It begins with very simple, everyday choices close to home. If something here touches your heart, feel free to leave a prayer or a sincere thought in the comments. Those words aren't just interaction. They're a connection between hearts that are all searching for peace and truth together. When the message spreads, more people get the chance to stop and think. So you don't miss any future reminders, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Every small action helps carry the message to others who need to be awakened and comforted. Finally, thank you from the heart, you and your family, for taking the time to listen. May peace cover every home and every heart in these uncertain days. Amen. What's happening to this world when the sky changes color, the ground reacts, and people are just left stunned and confused? Right in the first days of the new year, everything seems to speed up, hitting one after another with no time for anyone to get ready. These aren't the usual events we're used to. They're strange signs showing up one after another, slamming right into our beliefs, our fears, and our questions about whether tomorrow will even come. Snow pouring down where there should only be sunshine, rocks taking on shapes of living things, daylight swallowed up in the middle of the day, huge shadowy figures appearing, the sky shaking like it's being pulled out of its normal order. 10 events, not random, not separate, coming one right after the other like a drumbeat, getting faster and louder, forcing the whole world to look up and ask, where exactly are we in all of this? If there's still a quiet prayer in your heart, go ahead and leave it in the comments as a way to hold on tight to your faith before this story unfolds, things that might make you feel like humanity's time is shorter than ever. And right now, so you don't have to wait, let's just get started with 1. A terrifying blizzard hit Nathia Gali, Pakistan, a shocking disaster in the middle of a tropical hill area. No one expected a snowstorm in a place that's usually all about sunshine and pine forests, and that sudden moment really stops you in your tracks. Everything seemed normal, but in just a few hours, Nathia Gali got thrown into a whole different world. The cold came out of nowhere, making you wonder what's really changing in the way the world usually works. Nathia Gali is a quiet hill resort town in northern Pakistan, sitting about 7,900 feet up, known for its cool, peaceful weather. But early in 2026, the sky just dropped heavy snow, strong winds, and temperatures plunging way below 0 Fahrenheit. The mountain roads got completely blocked. Snow-buried cars, people were stuck for hours in brutal conditions, and rescue teams couldn't get there fast enough. According to CNN, at least dozens of vehicles got buried. Many folks ended up with serious hypothermia, and local hospitals were overwhelmed. Local authorities kept sending out urgent warnings, stay off the mountain roads, stay home, but most of those messages came too late. Chaos spread quick as traffic stopped, power went out, and families had to dig themselves out of the snow with little hope. Behind those cold numbers and neutral reports, the Bible opens up another layer of meaning. Matthew 24:7 says, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." That verse isn't just about wars or quakes. It reaches to any unusual upheaval that shakes up people's lives. Scientists quickly pointed to climate change, shifting air patterns, and extreme weather. But what hits hard for a lot of people is how sudden and intense it was, way beyond normal forecasts. Luke 21:11 puts it even clearer. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. Here, the Bible isn't trying to settle things for us. It's more like a quiet reminder that these strange events carry a deeper message beyond the stats. The blizzard in Nathia Gali eventually eased as the snow slowly melted, but the uneasy feeling stuck around. And looking at this first big one, The real question isn't who's right or wrong, it's whether we're awake enough to see that things we thought were far away are getting closer than ever. 2. Moving stone eyes. The statue of Jesus comes alive in the church. That afternoon started just like any other in an old church. Sunlight slanted through the tall windows, soft footsteps echoed, and people held up their phones to capture an ordinary moment. No one was ready for what came next. The very normalness of it all made the following seconds unforgettable, as if we were standing at a line we hadn't even noticed at first. In the video shot among the crowd, the familiar stone statue on the altar suddenly changed. Its eyes, always still, began to move slowly, scanning the quiet space. The stone lips moved just a little, like they were trying to say something without sound. No explosion, no flash of light, just a gentle shift that froze the whole frame. It brought a feeling of something holy mixed with unease, as if reality had cracked open just a bit. The moment spread fast. When people watched the frames again, the chill down the spine didn't come from the video quality. It came from that gaze that seemed to have real purpose. Some stood frozen. Some dropped to their knees. Others quietly left the space. The recording kept getting shared at lightning speed, carrying curiosity and confusion far beyond the church walls. From there, arguments broke out in two clear directions. One side believed this was a sign from the spiritual realm, something beyond normal explanation. The other side pointed to light effects, camera angles, or tricks of the eye. Video experts broke down every pixel. People of faith listened with their hearts. Both sides held their ground pretty calmly, since there wasn't strong enough proof yet to end the story one way or the other. Right in the middle of the debate, the Bible stepped in like a key. Matthew 24:24 says, "For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." Those words don't deny that signs can happen. They just remind us to stay alert when we see them. But the Bible also opens another door. Revelation 1-7 declares, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." Those two verses side by side don't decide for us. They simply shine light on the thin line between deception and what is truly from God. The video ends in silence. The statue goes back to how it was, but the feeling it left behind never really went away. If it was just an optical illusion, it touched people too deeply to brush off. And if it wasn't, that silence after the moment is exactly why the story keeps unfolding, and no one is in a hurry to close it. 3. A huge white golden cloud blocked out the sunlight completely, leaving a strange black shadow stretching hundreds of feet across the blue sky. That day, the sky opened up with a beauty that was hard to believe, clear blue and perfectly calm, like a painting arranged just right. Right in the middle of it all, a long band of glowing white cloud with golden edges appeared. It curved and flowed gently, almost like a living thing, stretching hundreds of feet, and so striking that nobody could ignore it. But this beauty went against everything science tells us about light and clouds, because the sunshine couldn't get through it at all. Have you ever wondered what could be so amazingly beautiful, and at the same time so strangely wrong and unsettling? Just a few minutes later, that peaceful feeling gave way to something hard to describe. The cloud wasn't just hanging there. It left a long black shadow underneath, hundreds of feet long, like someone had cut a dark line across the sky. The air around seemed to grow heavier, and people watching felt a real chill even though the sun was still up there. It wasn't full panic, just a deep shiver when you face something way beyond normal understanding. A lot of folks tried to stay calm, watching and recording it on their phones. No thunder, no sign of a storm coming, just this heavy silence settling over everything. The cloud didn't look like regular storm clouds, and it wasn't smoke or fog either. That not like anything usual part is what spread the uneasiness. It stayed long enough for everyone to realize this wasn't some quick trick of the eye. Weather experts quickly offered careful guesses. Some said it might be a thick cloud full of dust or ice crystals, reflecting light in a rare way. Others mentioned unusual light scattering high up in the atmosphere. Those explanations sound reasonable on paper, but they still leave the biggest question hanging. Why did it block the light almost completely and create such a sharp, clear, dark shadow? Science gives possibilities, but not real certainty yet. In the middle of those neutral explanations, the Bible speaks up more like a warning than comfort. Matthew 24-29 says, "Right after the suffering of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken." It doesn't describe one exact event in detail, but it stresses how the normal order of the sky gets turned upside down. Another passage drives the wake-up call even deeper. Luke 21:25 warns, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." When you put those words next to this strange cloud, the story stops being just about physics and becomes a reminder to stay awake and alert when unusual signs appear. In the end, the cloud finally broke up, the light came back, but that heavy feeling stayed hanging in people's minds. If science is still searching for answers, while the Bible gave its warning long ago, the real question isn't up in the sky anymore. When darkness can show up in the middle of a bright day, are we truly ready if it starts moving down, not just from above, but right into our own lives? 4. The red rock in Texas shaped like a giant. The giant from the mountain rock waking up. Out in the rugged red hills of Texas, there's this one big rock that stands out with a shape that's way too familiar. Familiar enough to make you feel a little uneasy. It doesn't just sit there like other rocks. It feels like it's quietly watching time go by. What is it about a lifeless shape that makes people ask so many questions? From a distance, the rock looks like a huge person, leaning back against the mountainside, head tilted up, eyes fixed on the horizon. It's maybe a few dozen feet tall, so the size feels overwhelming next to everything around it. The natural ridges just happen to form what look like shoulders, a chest, and a clear head. The whole place gives off this ancient feeling, like it's been there longer than any human memory. Folks living nearby don't use some fancy scientific name for it. They whisper about it in a kind of sacred way, seeing it as a silent guardian of the red land. What about you? When you stand in front of something like that, do you figure it's just a random coincidence? Or maybe some message we haven't figured out yet? Geologists jump in quick with their explanation. They say millions of years of erosion, wind, and sand can carve out shapes that our brains turn into familiar figures. We're wired to spot faces and people in nature. That sounds reasonable, straightforward, and backed by real science. But then you put that next to the old pages of Scripture, and another layer starts to open up. Genesis 6-4 says, "There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown." It doesn't go into detail, but it leaves a question hanging around for generations. Numbers 13:33 keeps that memory alive. "There we saw the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight." Those ancient words aren't about geology. They're opening a window into a history bigger than our modern timeline. Science talks about how it formed. The Bible talks about what it means. When you set those two views side by side, the question isn't really what the rock is, it's what it's reminding us of. Could faith and reason actually work together? With faith shining light into the places reason hasn't reached yet? Which way do you lean when you're standing right on that line? The rock stays quiet under the Texas sky, neither confirming nor denying anything. But that very silence stirs something in people's hearts. If ancient memories are starting to wake up through sights like this, the real question is, are we ready for whatever's about to be revealed? 5. Our Lady whispered, the Mary statue, moved in a home in Paraguay. Have you ever been in a really ordinary moment, not expecting anything unusual at all? Right in that quiet stillness, a very soft sound happened, like a whisper right next to your ear. It wasn't loud, the words weren't clear, but it was enough to make you freeze. When the phone was lifted up, the camera caught something hard to explain. The mouth on the Mary statue seemed to move slowly, opening like it was saying something very private. When the woman stepped closer, the movement stopped, leaving a feeling that an invisible line had just been gently pointed out. The video isn't long, but every second carries a strange feeling. The statue's face stays calm, eyes still, while the motion at the lips makes it feel so alive in a way that's hard to put into words. The air in the room got heavier, not pure fear, but a quiet sense of awe, like something holy had just passed very close by. Luke 21:11 talks about moments like this. There will be terrors and great signs from heaven. That Bible verse doesn't paint a detailed picture, but it suggests a time when normal life can suddenly get interrupted by something beyond what people expect. Here, it wasn't the sky. It was just a small, private corner of everyday life. Right after the video spread online, people quickly split into different opinions. Some said it's just an optical illusion from the light, the angle, or a little camera shake. Others leaned towards something mechanical, like the statue reacting to temperature or vibrations in the room. Those ideas were shared pretty calmly, based on logic and experience. Still, Revelation 12:1 opens another way of looking at it. A great sign appeared, a woman clothed with the sun. That passage is usually understood on many levels, not to explain how it works, but to stir up symbols. When you put it next to the statue in the video, it doesn't prove anything, but it brings up a connection that's hard to ignore for anyone used to seeing signs through faith. In the end, what stays isn't a final answer, but the feeling that lingers after watching. The woman in the video just shared what she saw and heard. No extras, no big explanations. And for us, watching from our screens, do we see it as just something curious, or as a gentle reminder quietly speaking in the middle of our noisy lives? 6. Strange white noise band high up in the clouds. A shocking moment happened at tens of thousands of feet up, where everything should have been perfectly normal. Inside the steady cabin, engines humming along, a young passenger simply lifted her phone to record the white clouds outside the window. The second the lens pointed out, against that flat, calm cloud layer appeared this strange white strip, stretching across the sky like a slash in the air. It didn't drift with the wind, didn't fade. It pulsed in short, jerky bursts, just like the old TV static snow. The peaceful view suddenly felt cold, as if the sky had accidentally shown a glitch people weren't meant to see. That white band didn't stay still. It kept wavering, small but noticeable movements, feeling like it didn't belong to the clouds and wasn't any normal weather thing we'd seen before. The girl holding the phone started breathing faster, her hand shaking a little, because she knew she was seeing something way outside ordinary life. What would you do if the sky in front of you suddenly didn't feel stable anymore, the way we've always trusted it to be? The video was shared later exactly as shot. No cuts, no color changes. The person who posted it just said she had no idea what she had captured. No big claims, no wild guesses, just honest confusion from someone who stumbled onto something hard to explain. That real, simple reaction is why the clip spread so fast and got people arguing hotly. Matthew 24:29 recorded a serious warning worth thinking about. The powers of the heavens will be shaken. The verse doesn't paint a specific picture, but it points to big disturbance in what should be the most solid, orderly place. Seeing this vibrating white band up among the clouds, a lot of folks couldn't help connecting it to that idea. Some weather experts think it could be video interference from the thick, layered airplane window glass, plus bright sunlight. Others brought up rare atmospheric waves that only show up in very unusual conditions. The ideas are offered carefully, but none really line up perfectly with the odd, jerky motion caught on video. Luke 21:25 also mentions, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." It's not about scaring us, but warning that major changes often begin with small, sudden signs popping up in what feels like normal, steady life. That wave in the clouds might just be something rare, or it could be a quiet reminder that the sky isn't as calm and silent as it used to be. So far, the video still has no final answer, but the uneasy feeling it leaves is very real. When even the sky starts showing these strange shakes, the question isn't just what it was, it's whether we're ready for whatever changes might be coming next. 7. Mysterious, spooky lights in the sky. Over Fairfax, Virginia. In a quiet neighborhood in Fairfax, Virginia, a woman looked up without thinking and just froze. Against the deep black night sky, 3 straight beams of light hung there in the air. The one in the middle was much wider, looking almost like a road drawn right across the sky. If you'd been standing under it in that moment, would you have believed your own eyes? Those 3 lines of light didn't move. They didn't spread out like flares or blur like regular lights do. They just stayed perfectly still, so sharp and clear that everything around them seemed fuzzy. The video shows a plain, empty sky above normal rooftops and streets below. But up there, it felt like something strange had been dropped into our world. It wasn't curiosity. It was a real chill running down your spine. Everyone who saw the footage noticed the same thing. That light wasn't trying to put on a show. It didn't move around to catch your eye. It just was there, quietly, like it was waiting for someone to really notice. 3 perfectly straight, parallel lines, so even and balanced, it felt almost wrong. It gave a sense of order and purpose, but way beyond anything we normally understand. That mystery made the uneasy feeling spread fast. Luke 21:25 talked about moments like this. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. The verse doesn't spell out exact shapes, but it says the sky will show signals strong enough to make people stop and think hard. When you place those words next to these 3 floating paths of light, a lot of folks feel there's something worth thinking about there. Quick explanations started showing up. Rare weather effects, reflections from far-off man-made lights, things like that. But none of them really took away the sense that this was more than just ordinary technical stuff. It's the fact that there's no solid, satisfying answer that makes the worry grow bigger, because people are most afraid of things they can't put a name to. Revelation 1-7 also paints a powerful picture. Behold, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him. Lights showing up in the sky, staying long enough to get recorded. Clear enough you can't miss them. This made many people quietly wonder if those words are starting to come true in some way. What's really striking is how the video ends. No big dramatic finish. The 3 light paths didn't flash or disappear in a puff. They just slowly faded after a while, and the sky went back to looking normal, like nothing ever happened. But that uneasy feeling didn't go away. When the sky draws paths that people can't figure out, the question still hangs there. Where do those paths lead, and who is supposed to walk on them? 8. A helicopter frozen in midair. Its blades completely still, yet it just hangs there. A helicopter is hovering in the middle of the sky with its rotor blades not moving at all. This wasn't out in some remote desert or secret military base. It happened right at a busy city intersection, with a red light and people everywhere. The sight lasted only a few seconds, but it was long enough to shake that everyday feeling we all have, that the world runs on fixed, reliable rules. The man who first recorded the video just happened to look up by reflex. The helicopter was maybe a few dozen feet up, its body perfectly steady in a really strange way. The blades weren't blurring like they usually do. They were frozen still, like someone hit pause. In that moment, there was no loud wind, no shaking, just this heavy silence hanging right over everyone's heads on the street. When the video started spreading, people zeroed in on the one thing that made no sense: how perfectly balanced it was. Physics tells us a helicopter needs constant lift from those spinning blades to stay up. But here the body stayed locked in place, almost like something invisible was holding it steady. If you'd been standing right underneath it, would you still feel so sure about the rules we all take for granted? After a few seconds, the blades started turning again, very slowly, and not quite matching the steady state from before. The helicopter flew off like nothing unusual had happened. That back to normal part actually left people more unsettled because it didn't look or feel like any ordinary mechanical glitch. Job 26:7 has been quoted a lot in this kind of discussion. He hangs the earth on nothing. That Bible verse doesn't explain how it works, but it quietly suggests there are forces beyond human understanding keeping everything in place. When you put those words next to a machine weighing thousands of pounds just floating without any visible lift, a lot of folks start thinking about deeper layers of reality. People came up with technical explanations, from optical illusion caused by the camera's frame rate to the video maybe being edited, but none of them fully explain how it stayed so stable for several seconds. The real doubt isn't about the tech details. It's the feeling that something stepped in and messed with the normal order of things. Colossians 1:17 says, "He is before all things, and in him all things hold together." We usually read that as a statement of faith, but when you see something that challenges everyday logic, it starts to feel like a serious hint about where the order and balance we take for granted really come from. The helicopter eventually left the sky over that intersection, but the question stayed behind. When our most advanced machines suddenly act like they're no longer bound by the laws of physics, is it just a rare glitch? Or a sign that the world we thought was so solid is starting to shift? 9. Glowing purple spiral in the Arctic ice. The Arctic opens up like another world, where snow and ice reflect the faint light into misty, dreamlike layers. In that near-total silence, a strange purple glow appears, twisting into a deep spiral buried inside the ice. Standing there, it's hard not to feel like you've stepped right up to a boundary most people never reach. This glowing spiral doesn't sit still like a crystal, and it doesn't spread out like the aurora we usually see. The purple light pulses in a steady rhythm, like a signal being sent out and pulled back in. The ice around it catches the glow in thin, rippling streaks, making everything feel like it's breathing together, even though there's no wind or obvious movement. People who saw it say time seemed to stretch out. The spiral gives off no heat and makes no sound, but it has this pull that's hard to explain, almost like it's quietly inviting you closer. In that moment, the line between the natural world and something beyond it gets so blurry it's almost scary. Ezekiel 1:16 once described something that makes you think, "The appearance of the wheels and their work was like the color of beryl." All four had the same likeness, their appearance and their work being, as it were, a wheel within a wheel. When you put that old description next to this glowing purple spiral, a lot of folks notice something odd in common: orderly motion, unusual light, and the feeling of a structure that doesn't belong to our everyday world. Scientists quickly came up with ideas, from rare plasma effects to chemical reactions in ancient ice. But none of them really explain the steady pulsing rhythm like a code, or how such a perfect spiral could hold together in a place so harsh that stable shapes are almost impossible. Job 38:22 asks a tough question for us humans. Have you entered the storehouses of the snow? Or have you seen the storehouses of the hail? Those words aren't about teaching science. They're a reminder that parts of creation are still way beyond our control or understanding. The Arctic, with its ice layers going back thousands of years, might just be hiding some of those secrets. The purple light keeps pulsing in the video footage, then slowly fades as the camera pulls away. It doesn't explode or vanish suddenly. It just quietly slips back into the ice like it was never there. But the sense of a heartbeat lingers for a long time, as if something is still running behind the curtain of reality. When glowing structures that look both ancient and strangely digital show up at the very edge of the earth, the real question isn't how they formed. What bothers people more is this: if creation is sending out signals like that, could it be a quiet reminder that there's a deeper order slowly being revealed, and we're only just starting to notice? 10. A city floating over the ocean, buildings appearing in midair. In that peaceful scene, The man lifts his camera just to capture a calm moment. But then stop and think. If something impossible suddenly appeared right in front of you, would you really stay calm? Right above the horizon, a whole city shows up in the sky, sharp and clear in a way that gives you chills. Tall buildings lined up perfectly, windows, balconies, block shapes all even and neat, like they were cut straight from a flawless blueprint. They're not blurry like a mirage, not shaking with the wind or clouds, just hanging there, completely still, totally separated from the sea below. Seconds keep passing, but the city doesn't change shape at all. It's like another layer of reality got stuck in the sky. The long silence turns the beautiful view into a quiet pressure, forcing you to face an uneasy feeling that's hard to name. Isaiah 24:1 comes to mind, like a serious warning. See, the Lord is going to lay waste the earth and devastate it. He will ruin its face and scatter its inhabitants. When you put that warning next to a picture of a city with no foundation, no ground underneath, a lot of people start thinking about everything being turned upside down, where even the most solid things are no longer in their right place. Some people say it's atmospheric refraction, or a fata morgana effect over the ocean. But what keeps folks uneasy is how perfectly detailed it all is. The straight lines don't bend, the building blocks aren't distorted, and most of all, it doesn't fade away even when the camera angle changes. It feels like a glitch in the world, where something that doesn't belong in our time got displayed in the wrong spot. Revelation 18:10 talks about the terror of watching great symbols fall. Woe, woe to you, great city, mighty city of Babylon. In 1 hour your judgment has come. That floating city, even though it doesn't collapse, brings the same fragile feeling. The things people built and trusted to last forever can become meaningless in just a moment. If our world can glitch and show images like that, the question isn't really what the phenomenon is anymore. It's where we stand in a reality that can shift at any time. Matthew 24:35 states a truth that never changes. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. When everything we can see starts feeling shaky, maybe the only thing that truly stands firm isn't a city floating in the sky. It's where we choose to put our trust before everything else disappears. Here are 10 signs that seem like scattered pieces at first, but when you put them together, they form a picture that's downright chilling. It's no longer just random chance or some algorithm playing tricks with images. This string of signs showed up right when the world was shaking, people's hearts were troubled, and trust was wearing thin. In a quiet moment, we have to ask ourselves, why is everything suddenly heading in the same direction, as if someone is sounding the final trumpet for humanity? The Bible has long described times like these, not with dates or schedules, but with the condition of the world and the human heart. Luke 21:11 warned, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven." When you line it up, what's really frightening isn't just the match. It's the feeling that those words are still echoing, reaching straight through the centuries into today. The most dangerous thing about these signs isn't the fear, it's the indifference. When people get used to chaos and strange things, hearts can grow hard and treat every warning like just another passing news story. Hebrews 3:15 reminds us, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." Those words are like a quiet indictment, not thundering condemnation, but something that makes each soul look honestly at itself. The time we have left, whether long or short, isn't measured in years or months, but in inner preparation. The world may keep running as usual, but the direction is already set. 2 Peter 3:10 says, "The day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar." Those words aren't meant to panic us. They're meant to wake us up to the fact that nothing here on earth lasts forever. So right now, the important thing isn't trying to guess the day or hour. It's choosing how to live. Turning back, staying awake, and renewing our faith every day, that's the quiet but strongest answer. Matthew 24:44 urges. You also must be ready. It's not a harsh command. It's a gentle, merciful reminder for anyone still listening. If what I've said just now touches something deep inside you, feel free to leave a short prayer or a sincere thought below, like we're lighting small candles together in the darkness. And if you don't want to miss any future messages, please help by sharing this and walking with the channel in the days ahead. Thank you so much for staying until the very end. May peace cover every family and guard every heart through these turbulent times. May grace lead, protect, and shine on us, today and always. Amen.
The president is on the South Lawn. He just left a little while ago for Andrews Air Force Base, where he's headed down to Florida to spend the weekend. And now
NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very bad.
On Denmark and several other European countries, unless there's a deal to purchase.
Greenland's not for sale!
It comes as thousands march.
Earlier today, we heard from the sheriff in Osceola County.
We get that person notified, we'll make their names available, and we'll also tell you where they're from.
What happens if the world you're living in doesn't have enough time left to fix its mistakes? When the ice up north turns into a hot spot for fighting over, when gunshots ring out in quiet neighborhoods, 2026 isn't just a number on the calendar anymore. It's that uneasy feeling creeping in every single day. Protests explode, alliances break apart, economies get turned into weapons, violence hides for a while, then suddenly shows its face. Everything comes at you fast, too fast for people to really understand what they're seeing. Where do we stand in all of this chain of events? Are we really safe? Before we go any deeper, let's just pause for a second. And if you can, maybe leave a prayer in the comments for all of us in this shaky time. And now, let's get started right away with the first event. The storm of protests in the Arctic. People chant loudly, "Greenland is not for sale." Strong winds blow, snow whips across faces, flags shake in the bone-chilling cold. Against the white backdrop of Arctic ice and snow, one chant keeps ringing out, "Greenland is not for sale." Watching on screen, we're not just hearing about this, we're seeing a quiet land suddenly become the center of a worldwide showdown. Greenland is the world's largest island, covering about 836,330 square miles, sitting between the North Atlantic and the Arctic Ocean. The capital, Nuuk, has only around 56,000 people, mostly Inuit, but the island's location gives it huge global importance. Greenland is an autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, where folks are used to free education, universal health care, and a steady welfare system they don't want to give up. Tensions started when ideas about buying or transferring control of Greenland came up. This icy place isn't just snow and rock. It holds huge deposits of rare earth minerals needed for tech and defense. Melting ice in the Arctic is also opening new shipping routes, cutting thousands of miles between Asia and Europe, making Greenland a key spot for military and economic reasons. According to Fox News, protests broke out at the same time in Greenland and Denmark, right after those proposals got mentioned. In Nuuk, thousands braved temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, marching down main streets with Greenland flags, chanting in Kalaallisut to affirm their sovereignty. The crowd moved toward the consulate area, standing close together in the freezing wind, making it clear they won't back down. In Copenhagen, about 2,200 miles away, even bigger crowds gathered in front of the U.S. Embassy with strong, no-nonsense messages of opposition. Surveys in Greenland show around 85% of people are against any change to the island's sovereignty. The reason is simple. Losing control could mean losing the whole social foundation that supported their communities for generations. In the crowds, traditional songs rise up, not for show, but to declare their identity and deep tie to this land. That scene brings to mind the story in 1 Kings 21-1-3, when Naboth refused to hand over his ancestors' vineyard to King Ahab, no matter the high price offered. "I will not give you my ancestral inheritance." In the Bible, land isn't just property. It's a trust handed down, something money or power can't buy. Today, in Greenland, the land is seen as something worth protecting at all costs, like the promise in Exodus 3-8, where God says, "I have come down to rescue them and bring them up out of that land